He's a coward on top of being a liar. He ran away from this, and that's his right to do so. I understand. He does this quite frequently. This is his MO. He gets blown out on issues and then decides to run.
I know Rob has his 10 minutes he wants with Pisco on the Bowman thing that I want to make sure.
Oh, I'm not going to give that to him. No.
Well, you
run?
Yeah. So
you coward. Pisco running, coward. Here he is, coward Pisco. Go ahead, tell us how you're running. Go ahead.
To be 1,000%, 1,000,000,000,000% clear, everyone on this panel prepared for a discussion about the Donald Trump cases and the implications on corruption. For Rob Noerr, big baby that he is,
I'm not running.
To turn this conversation and disrespect the audience, the panel, and the reason we're here by sort of executing on a vendetta.
We're spending more time talking
on
about
some
this.
Totally irrelevant.
That's what you're doing, right?
On some totally irrelevant matter is beyond the pale. I refer everybody to our previous conversations about Jamal Bowman. The matter does not need to be discussed any longer.
If you want to run, you can run. I will talk to the audience. You can run if you need to run.
Okay, that'll be the last 10 minutes regardless. That'll be the last 10 minutes. Until then,
you'll hear a screed and
he'll run because he knows he's wrong. And the reason that it's important to bring up, because we just heard Pisco go why it's not important. You remember when he asked me earlier when he said to the audience, see, this is the type of character Rob is. You remember when he said that? Now we're talking about different concepts. We're talking about different concepts and interpretations of the law. And you've heard Pisco say various times, he disagrees with the biased former FEC chairman that says that this was it. He disagrees with him. And he disagrees with the FEC that violated. Right,
Rob. Let me. You guys can go at it after.
That's fair. Go ahead.
I'm not going at it. Rob can.
No, he can be a coward and leave. That's fine. So, we know Pisco, coward.
So to answer
I know the rest of you have to go. You can stay. Pisco, more than welcome. And I know we're gonna give the floor to Rob for at least a little bit.
I only need three. If Pisco's going to leave, that's fine. I only need a couple minutes.
Yeah, thank you so much, Wick, for having us on the
Thank you for being a coward, Pisco. Pisco, thanks for being a coward. So you can see the Pisco rant because he knows that. All I want to say is Pisco, it's fun to test yourself intellectually against other people. That's fine. These are complicated legal theories, and oftentimes the kind of conversations you have with someone like me and Pisco, they're even if it's not legal, it's complicated areas we're discussing. So talking about conspiracies or I don't even want to use the word conspiracy, like talking about potential conflicts of interest or bias, et cetera, in places like Ukraine, China, et cetera, with Biden and the laptop and all of this, it becomes difficult. And it's difficult to sift through hundreds upon hundreds of pages and have these conversations. So it's nice to know that the person you're talking with is at least engaging in good faith to some degree. Now, I want you to go back to the moment that Lactoid was talking about in his closing statement. Now, how hard would it have been for Pisco to say, like, yeah, you're right. It seems like it's also quite obvious beyond a reasonable doubt Hillary Clinton purchased that house for the election. Like, instead, he always has this unreasonable, and it was the same with the FECA violations. No, I don't believe those are FECA violations. He doesn't tell you why. He just asserts that. And you realize that if that was a FECA violation, all of this case collapses. Not because Trump didn't commit the crime, but that first threshold of, was this selective prosecution? Was this a crime that's worth going after a former president? Now, I get to all of that to talk about this. When you're listening to Pisco's argument, when he says, trust me, that was all good, trust me on this house situation, you have to see the type of person. And he mentioned this about me. He said, what caliber of person I am. I welcome that challenge. We had a conversation, me and Pisco, about this guy, Jamal Bowman. The details of it's not important. The mistake is everyone thinks this is about the specifics of the Jamal Bowman case. It's not. It's about Pisco and the type of arguments he has. I loved arguing with Pisco. I probably argued with him maybe over 100 hours on stream and elsewhere. Pisco
you see it on Twitter, but go ahead.
Pisco said over and over again when it came to Jamal Bowman that it was inconceivable that he didn't intend for the fire alarm to go off that he pulled. Inconceivable. And then he said, because he always supports the prosecution of Trump and the people surrounding Trump, lying to law enforcement or investigators is a crime that should be charged. That's why he was for the charging of George Papadopoulos, for example, or he was for the indictment of Michael Flynn. So he was always for all of this, always, right? And it was very serious. And so when the record came out of the actual conversation and that Jamal Bowman had with the police, Jamal Bowman said, I did not intend for the alarm to go off. Now that's cut and dry. And it's only a very small issue. Everyone that says, who cares about Jamal Bowman? You're right. Who gives a shit? How hard would it be for Pisco to be like, yeah, he lied. I guess he should be charged. Oh, well, what can you do? And if I'm putting a steel man on Pisco's position, he would say, sure, okay, I guess the fact that cops didn't charge him is a double standard. But come on, Rob, that's small potatoes. That's it. That's all you'd have to say. But instead, Pisco, who I remind you, said that's inconceivable. Of course, the last time I brought this up to him, he claimed ignorance. I don't remember saying that. So I had to bring up the tweet to show that he had said that. And of course, he said it to me over and over on stream as well. He said it was inconceivable. So that means it's a lie. Jabal Bowman said something that Pisco said isn't possible. It's a lie. It's inconceivable. So this is it, right? Okay, Pisco, you said lying to them should be charged if it's a material lie. Yep. And you said it would be a lie. It'd be inconceivable if Jabal Bowman said he didn't intend for the alarm to go off. He said yes. I said, okay, so surely he should be charged. And Pisco's argument was, and he won't deny this, what he'll do is like he always does, ramble on and on. His argument was, well, I believe when he said I didn't intend for the alarm to go off, what I really meant was I did intend. I want to repeat that. So everyone listening is like, well, who gives a shit about pulling a fire alarm? The important part is understanding the context of how partisan these people are. When finally pushed, where they've definitively lost an argument on these things, he says, I believe when Jabal Bowman said I didn't intend for the alarm to go off, what he really meant was I did intend. Now, this is such a bad faith lie that speaks to Pisco's character, because when I brought this up in the first time we did a panel or a debate one-on-one with the moderator, and I brought it up, his only defense to this was, but why would I lie? That's exactly my point. Why would you? And so when you listen to him, and I know everyone listening to Pisco's audience, just like Pisco, is going to run from it. They're going to say, who gives a shit about Jabal Bowman? It speaks to the character, because the truth is, I can't claim to know as much about the law as Lactoid and Pisco. I've looked into this case. I'm doing my best good faith measure to talk about its obvious problems, right? But when anyone like Rashad or Gibbs or Pondering there, they'll admit, like, yeah, we didn't have as much to add. So you're sort of relying on people and their interpretations, and you're hoping that they're good faith. Pisco's not. He will flat out lie. And so when he says, like, nah, I don't, Hillary's house, there are other reasons. And it's like, but Lactoid correctly points out, you literally just said with Trump that doesn't matter. You literally said that. You were like, oh, no, with Trump, it was, it had to be the election. But with Hillary, it's like, yeah, there could have been other reasons. Those are the sorts of things you get. And I wish Pisco was here because he'd have a chance to defend himself. You'll see. I was on Jay Stock's panel the other day. Same thing. He won't say, this is what, I'll try to give you what Pisco's argument was there. You ready? I don't have a hat. I'd turn it backwards. Here was his argument. His argument is like, what I said was that the idea that the alarm would go off globally, like in the whole building, that possibly that wouldn't have been something. And I argued from the whole time. I wasn't defending. I thought he should have been charged for the pulling of the alarm. And I supported him getting that $100 fine or $1,000 fine. I was for that. And I was actually, I said that, there was no good answer, and I wasn't supporting what Jabal Bowman did. I wasn't. I said that it was stupid. And whatever way you look at it, and regardless, Rob just wants to bring this up. Now notice what he wouldn't, you have to take my word, that's what he said. Notice what he didn't say is, no, I didn't say that, because he did. He knows he did. Now apply this to everything. He knows that Donald Trump incited an insurrection because when Trump said, go be peaceful, he knows that means don't be peaceful. The unique situation with Pisco being that he was my absolute favorite person to talk to, and now has exhibited bad faith in a litany of ways. In fact, Pisco was so much my favorite person to talk to. When I was in conversations about going on Tim Pool's show, they wanted me to debate someone, so they were talking about the Krasensteins, they were talking about Destiny. There was even talk that someone like Sam Cedar or David Pakman might come on, but the Krasensteins were open to it, but then they had a conflict of interest, or they had a conflicting schedule, etc. So I was going to suggest Pisco, but I can't. I would never suggest him. And I've said that I think this was such an example of bad faith that I will not have a public conversation with him without bringing this up, because I think that it merits every single person listening that they understand how biased that is. And there is not one person, like I challenge it. I'll ask you, Wick, and I'll ask Lactoid. I'm not asking you to say that I'm accurately representing the facts. That's fair. You didn't hear. But if it is true that his defense is, well, when he said I didn't intend, what I really think he meant is I did intend. Is there any way to look at that other than one of the most bad faith things you've ever heard?
To the extent that you, again, just to clarify, to the extent that you are representing this accurately, and I don't know that you are, but
absolutely
fair enough, right? Then yes, I think that at the very least, it calls into question someone's credibility. Like, I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong again. That'll happen. But what you hear from me is what I actually think.
Correct.
Right? Is what I actually believe. And I think that is, I would agree with you that is an important thing, that you need to know that what the person is telling you and what the interaction you are having, they actually believe. Now, none of us here, not me, not you, not anyone, is free of biases.
Of course.
In these things. We tend to believe our side over the others, right? There are measures to mitigate that, but that's just a tendency as humans that we have. So I don't necessarily ding someone for that if they're biased. Okay, sure, yeah, I get you.
But that's
right.
But you have thresholds,
that,
right?
Yeah.
Like you talked about being wrong or having. Of course, like Pondering says, he doesn't think that I'll fully admit my bias. Of course, my bias isn't towards Trump. My bias is being anti-establishment and populist. But that definitely, I'll fully admit, that colors my perspective on things. Absolutely. Sure. Now, the key is we all have bias. Try to shrink it as much as possible to be a little more objective. Yeah. But we're all biased, right? What I'm talking about here that makes this unique is I can't even think of an analogy that's more ridiculous. Like, I guess you could say if Biden comes out tomorrow and says, yeah, I purposely fired that prosecutor in Ukraine to benefit my son's company. Like, Pisco would just say, presumably, no, when Biden says that, what he means is he didn't do it. And, like, it's that level. It's like, why am I sitting here talking to someone? Because I'll fully admit, when it comes to the specific legalese and, like, well, this case law or something, I'm taking people like Lactoid and Pisco at face value. I don't know, right? But why would I listen to him when I can't trust him? And on this case specifically, it matters because the other day on Jay Stunk's panel, he was just like, this is normal. Because for me, this, as a layman, this is what I think. Like, dude, when you're walking into fucking court, like, you should know.
Gotta wrap it up.
Okay. You should know specifically what you're charged with, right? And I was like, they didn't bring it up till closing arguments. And he's like, that's not true. It was in pretrial motions. And I was like, well, maybe you deserve to hear it in opening statements. Like, at the trial, you deserve to hear the charges before closing arguments. And Pisco's argument was this is completely normal. It's completely normal in a trial for it to not, if you don't hear it in the trial, to look at the pretrial motions. Well, it turns out a bunch of legal scholars, including those on ABC, CNN, and elsewhere, have a problem. But Pisco tells his audience, and he wins a credibility argument because I'm not a lawyer, and I've admitted that, and so I have to take his word to some degree. No, this was a totally normal trial. It was totally normal. Only a buffoon that doesn't understand litigation would come to the conclusion that there were problems with this. And then you see all of these experts, they're like, well, there's problems. There's significant problems with what's going on. And so that's why the Bowman story was important. And lastly, I'll say this. I'll wrap up here. He's a coward on top of being a liar. He ran away from this. And that's his right to do so. I understand. He does this quite frequently. This is his MO. He gets blown out on issues and then decides to run. I don't think he got blown out today. I think he loses the arguments today and we make better arguments. But certainly he's competent. He's making arguments. But when he knows that he's embarrassingly lost, he'll run. And that's what he did. That's why he's not here. And he'll try to gaslight people and say, that's because it wasn't relevant to the topic, when he himself talked to my character being relevant to this conversation, so why wouldn't his be?